Hello everyone, how you doing? You're very welcome to this week's Hurling What's the Score with myself, Aidan and Raftery. And of course, as always, we have former Limerick senior hurler Andrew O'Shaughnessy. Hello Andrew, how are you? Are you well?
I'm good, Ian. Yourself?
Great to have you on board now. Not too bad, no, not too bad. And yes, we're back on YouTube again, which is great. So thanks very much for joining me. And yeah, plenty to talk about, I suppose. And just before we go on to the results and fixtures, which is very important, two kind of items on the agenda. I suppose we'll start off. Well, I suppose that's what a lot of people have said is very uncharacteristic of Johnny Glynn. Others would say, well, the nature of the incident, it isn't. It happened in the Galway Senior Hurling Championship there a few weeks ago. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, watching it, I can't see it because I'm
Hello, Andrew.
perfect.
Uh,
Can you?
hello, yeah, I can hear you now. Yeah,
Sorry. So it's just very unlike anyone playing GA. Like you don't do that sort of thing. You get a bad belt, someone can be sinister and hit you a bad belt. That's you're used to seeing that, and they're punished accordingly. But it's like that's no place in any sport or any society really, to be honest, unless you're playing UFC or doing UFC. It was awful to look at. It took a while to see it, a few replays, but it was awful, and like the player was in clear distress. It shouldn't happen.
yeah, that's it. And I mean, it was a dangerous thing as well because he could have choked or whatever. But to be fair, you would probably have known him as well, playing hurling or whatever down the years, and I'm sure other people would have said it. Usually, I've never actually seen that happen really as such. So not in that high in nature, like in a game of hurling, either at county level or at club level.
Yeah, normally if a fella gets sent off unusually so that they normally don't get sent off, you only hear
Yeah,
general rhetoric on he's not that type of player. That's all very good. So now it's been done before. They get punished accordingly, but this and like, it has no place whatsoever. Whether it's dealt with by the J disciplinary process, I'm not too sure, or whether it's dealt by the guards, which is even more worrying. I wouldn't like to go say that and advocate for that, but at the same time, needs to be dealt with. And similar enough, like so, if the CCC are putting investigations into limit hurlers and county hurlers when they hurl, if they should really investigate this, but I know they won't, but they should.
that's it. It should be all of those kind of things that should be done across the board, really. I suppose that brings us on to a hurling legend, another hurling legend, a man you definitely would have heard against, and that's Shane Callanan, who announced recently his retirement from intercounty football or intercounty hurling. I suppose there are a lot of hurlers or a lot of backs around the county now that are bidding a huge sigh of relief, that they won't have to worry about him next season. But look at as some of the statistics, he has over 40 goals from playing into county hurling. Several all stars. This guy is serious stuff, and I could only imagine a pure nightmare to mark.
Yeah, so I think he is it 48 goals he has for championship in the county hurling, which is a phenomenal achievement in itself. So I would have heard against Shamey when I was 2 or 3 years near the end of my career. He was starting his career, so you can tell he could hurl. He's a big physical man, and he's fast for the size of him. He's actually very fast, but he was when he started out anyway, definitely. But he's finishing up now with his 3 All-Ireland medals. He owes Tipperary nothing. He was a great contributed greatly, especially the year 19 when they won that and All-Ireland that they weren't really fancy too. And he has the record for the only player to ever score in every championship game, and that was some going for him in game that they lost with a loss against Limerick. He still managed to pill for a goal, so he got a goal in every game, and he had a phenomenal year. So it's sad to see him retire, but again, he can retire with a proud man. He did his county proud, and he represented him to the best of his ability, and that ability was definitely there for everyone to see.
That's it. And I mean, we've all seen the goals he scored. He doesn't score simple ones. They're all spectacular and brilliant. And of course, he'll continue to score them, I'm sure, for his club Drum and Inch. Not a bad. He's played. When he came on, I suppose for Tipperary last season. He always made a difference. But he's had a great season at club level as well.
Yeah, so he's unfortunate now. As he's coming near the end, he was picking up injuries, which happens as you get older. Unfortunately, no matter what you do, you pick up injuries, and then when you're coming on, you're trying to prove yourself, and then you still have the doubt of the injury. So that kind of affects him for that year or two. But again, he's still flying with Drummond Inch. I know they're playing Turtle Stars this weekend now, so that's a real challenge.
Yeah. That's it, and of course we'd like to. I suppose continuing on that, seeing as we were talking about Jamie Callanan and Tipperary, I think we'll start off the results and fixtures on the I suppose on the Tipperary Senior Hurling Championship, and that's nearing the business end now at the moment as well, isn't it?
Yeah, so we're into quarterfinal stage. So as I said, Drummond Inch are playing Turtle Stars this weekend. It's on Sunday. That'll be a good match again. But I'm still, for some reason, I made a crowd on holiday there during the summer in a camping van from Tumibara, and just listening to them, the passion they have, and the way they were talking, I feel for that reason alone, and the history obviously with Tumibara, I think they'll be thereabouts come the knockout stages, and I fancy them for the county, albeit due to my holidays, but I think they're tipping along nicely.
And of course, like when you see the teams now in the knockout stages, it's going to be a serious. It's good. There are some very interesting quarterfinal fixtures there, isn't there?
Yeah, it's like I equate Tipperary to the Cork Championship. It's kind of a bit convoluted at times, a bit long and drawn out because Tipperary go through the North Championship and the regions, and it's hard to get to the quarterfinal stages. But similar enough with Cork, once you get to the quarterfinal stages, you have the teams that you invariably would have had picked at the start of the year, and there are some big heavy hitters there left. So again, it'll be going to be a great championship to watch. The culmination of it, definitely.
That's it. And I suppose now that we're on now that you just mentioned Cork, we'll move on to the Cork Championship.
Yeah, so again with Cork Championship, it's out the weekend after next. But again, like the big shock is that Glen Rovers are actually in a relegation final. I think they're playing Kanturk, and Kanturk will be no slouches. Kanturk came up a year, so that won't be the foregone conclusion. And it would actually be, obviously enough to be sad if Kanturk went back down fairly fast after coming up. It would be an absolute travesty for Cork hurling if the likes of Glen Rovers went down. But it's a real possibility, and I wouldn't write Kanturk off in that. But then you're looking at the other side of the fixture. Then the big guns again. They're thereabouts, and it's getting to the stage where the teams that are left, it's very hard to pick a winner. So I'm going to wait another round or two just to give my opinion on that.
And of course, look, I'm sure you would have watched it too. I watched it there on Sunday, the Waterford County Final, and I suppose really, you know, in the early stages, Ballygunner, yeah, they were ahead, but there were only a few points ahead. And like you know, De La Salle looked like they could catch up with them, but then they got I think the De La Salle keeper made one brilliant save in the first 15 minutes. I think 15 minutes into the game, and but then once they didn't really get going into sixth gear, I suppose, until once they scored that goal, then it was all Ballygunner after that, really, wasn't it?
Yeah, so De La Salle were a point up at half time, and that's a great position to be in. But again, playing against the likes of Ballygunner, you have to take every single chance you get because they are elite. They play a style of hurling that is near enough to intercounty style of hurling with their movement inside the forward line, and they know exactly where the ball goes. So, like, it was kind of inevitable when De La Salle didn't build up any sort of lead that they weren't going to win that game. You could see after the third quarter, Ballygunner started to turn the screw, and there's only going to be one winner. And the worrying thing about it is that's 10 in a row now, and they don't show any signs of stopping. And like the sky's the limit for that. Support more monsters and tack on a few All-Irelands onto that, and it's hard to bet against that.
And of course, just going back to your own county there, Limerick, you know, Patrick's well, all the usual traditional teams. What are your thoughts there?
Well, so Patrick said they played Kilmallock last weekend. They lost Kilmallock by 2 or 3 points, so it was a good game. Hurling well, they well are going. So again, it's as I said, it's down to three. I think it's down to 3 teams, and it's going to be Kilmallock and Piercy or Patrick's well. The way it's shaping up, the way the form has gone. So they're 3 teams. Patrick's well or Kilmallock and Piercy are playing each other in the last round of group stages. Both of those teams have qualified automatically into the semi-finals already. So that'll be kind of a dead rubber. I think it'll be a bit of just a bit of chess play there trying a few things out. If you don't win, you don't win. If you win, you win. But I think both teams will go out, try to play the best hurling without winning, if that makes sense. Because then they'll be playing. I think they'll be playing each other in the semi-final or a final at this stage. So Malcolm and Pierce, I think it's down to them, even though we've gone to quarterfinals yet.
And I suppose I suppose Clare is another is the next championship to look forward to as well.
Yeah, again, that's near the final stages. They're going into semi-final, final stages. So the Bridge are out, and that's the big shock so far from the Clare Championship. Like the Bridge are I think they're one of the most successful teams in Clare. They've won the county in the last couple of years as well. They're going well. They're a big shock, so it automatically comes back to their perennial favourites, Ballier. So they're to lose at this stage. But again, you have the likes of Aero. They're going to be losing the county final last year to Ballier. They'll be trying to make amends for it. After the year that Shane O'Donnell had, I expect him to maybe carry them all the way to the county champions.
And of course, I suppose really, in Munster, when you look across all the counties, I suppose, I suppose the Cork and Tipperary are kind of the two championships that aren't as straightforward. The rest of them are kind of more straightforward, aren't they, in the way they're run?
To a certain extent, then you might actually see that then in whoever wins the provincials, because invariably, like the last couple of years, like the Cork team haven't won Munster since Newtown back in the early 2000s, and Tip team was Turris Stars, or no, it was Varsity was last, but it's hard enough to go on after winning a long, hard county championship to continue that into Munster championship. So the likes of Limerick and Clare and Waterford have been successful, I think, a bit more than those two counties. So maybe there's food for thought for them. They could nearly revamp their structure if they want. I don't know. It's their own decision.
That's it. And just a kind of a point on, I suppose, on the Tipperary one there that I meant to mention. I suppose Lockmore Castleiney are a good side anyway. And, when you throw in the McGraths there, they're a good, tough, physical team as well, aren't they?
Yeah, and see, it's a plus side or a negative, I'm not too sure. They go strong on both fronts. They have a very strong football team as well. They've won the county, so they'll be pushing hard on both hurling and football. So that can have an advantage. You can have a great team bond built up between the groups. But the other thing, then, the disadvantage clearly is if you pick up one or two injuries, that's a lot of pressure for club teams. It's grand in the county. If you pick up injuries, you can replace a player to a certain extent. But club, if you pick up an injury at club, it's very hard to replace a club player.
And of course, now we'll move over to Leinster as well. And I suppose the Dublin Championship is looking very interesting at the moment.
Yes, I believe Coola gone from it. Got a shock loss, so it's not as straightforward as I thought. I was saying Coola there with Ballyboden and Kilmacud, but no, Luke and Sarsies are knocked out Coola as far as I believe. So they're a team that have shown form. They won again last night. Luke and Sarsies did. So again, these things, like when you're picking who your favourite is going to be, you go in history and what happened the last couple of years, but you always have a shock and an outlier, and that's what happened in Dublin Championship. Looking Sarsfields are definitely a shock and an outlier, and that's not to say they can win it.
And of course, moving on then to Wexford, of course, look, as we all know, it's very frustrating at the moment. I was talking to Larry O'Gorman there last week or the week before, and he's kind of very annoyed with it because it's the split season in Wexford. As we know, about 4 or 5 weeks ago, they had the county final, and from then until their next match, their next competitive game is 8 weeks, and that's a long time for players and management to kind of keep motivated. There's only a certain amount of training you can do, and maybe playing a few friendlies. But kind of when it gets to a certain stage, you start to get kind of bored and say, listen, the momentum kind of after a certain amount of weeks, when you're not actually playing competitive action, the momentum kind of goes a bit, doesn't it?
Yeah, and again, I feel for him. I definitely do feel for him because it's a long wait to your next match. And I said the last day, either you can use that as an advantage or disadvantage. You can say we can get a break, we can celebrate the county championship, and then we can get reset and go again, or else you can say it's too much of a lag and we just missed match time. But that's unfortunately that's a self-inflicted argument because those fixtures are done by the county board and they know about the county season, so they plan their championship around that, and that's totally 100% self-inflicted, and it's doing no justice to the club teams and giving them, whoever wins the championship, a chance of going on in Leinster and representing Wexford well. That's, again, unfortunately, that's down to county board decisions of how they fix their matches.
And I suppose when you think about that now, when it comes to them playing in Leinster now, I don't know they're up against in Leinster. But I mean, be it the Dublin champions, be it Kilkenny, Offaly, whoever it is, surely whoever comes out, whoever they're playing, kind of has the advantage because they've several games under their belt and they're not gone. And I don't mean to say this about St. Anne's, the Wexford champions. They're not stale; they're still fresh, and they're still raring to go, and they're still they have a lot of competitive action under their belt during that 6 or 8 weeks that St. Anne's have been off.
Yeah, it's a matter of what you can only tell that after you see the result. Whoever, again, I didn't see the fixture list, but whoever they're playing. So if St. Anne wins, it's a blessing in disguise. They'll rave about it. If they lose, then they'll bemoan it. It's only natural. So you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. But the long 6 or 7 weeks is too long for a club player. That's long. You don't want to be. It's the height of the summer's over. So you're in the knockout stage of championship. You want to be playing matches every 2 to 3 weeks, and anything longer than that, like, you're just going to have rustiness.
And of course, moving on to Kilkenny.
Again, so
Ballyhale.
the All-Ireland club champions, Ballyhale, are in the relegation match this weekend.
Yeah.
But if they win that, they're back in the championship, and like they've done that before. They're in a relegation. They're saying, "Oh, Ballyhale are in relegation. They're in trouble," and then they turn around and win the All-Ireland. So that's going to happen again. I think that's going to happen again. If they don't win it, they'll be thereabouts. And I predict it'll probably be maybe either someone from Limerick, Waterford, or Kilkenny champions for the All-Ireland already.
That's it. And of course, I suppose a lot of people might laugh at this, but given where the Offaly County hurling team are, obviously being in the Joe McDonagh instead of being in Leinster. But to be fair, it's a brilliant championship to, I've seen some of the games. It's a brilliant championship to watch. There's some great games and some great teams. Obviously, Kilcormac, Killahey, Burr, all these teams. A very interesting championship, Andrew.
Yeah, indeed, and like his history speaks a lot for itself. So you go back to history and it repeats itself. And historically, no matter how good Offaly are going, they always have good, strong club teams come out and doing quite well in Leinster, winning Leinster and winning All Ireland. So again, you couldn't be belittle that. So as you say, Kilcormac, Killahey are the clear favourites in Offaly, and their team best fixed to, if they are to get a run in Leinster, if Kilcormac come out, they're the team people would fear meeting. Yeah,
it's going to be a very interesting one, and hopefully now there's plenty of hurling to be played until it gets to the Leinster and the Munster Club Championships. But we better not forget about Galway, another great championship. It's nearly like a provincial championship in itself. Really, it's we've said it on numerous occasions. It's a very hard championship to get out, a very hard county championship to get out of.
Yeah, and that's what Galway, like, it's so physical and so tough. As you saw the match with Johnny Glynn was playing, and there's no quarters asked or given, and it's dog eat dog down there. But invariably, a team that comes out, as I said prior, a team that comes out of Galway, they're straight into an Ireland semi-final, and just 2 matches, 120 minutes away from winning an Ireland championship. So that's what makes it so tough and so attritional in Galway, because teams know the carrot at the end of get out of the Galway championship, and you have a great chance of winning Ireland. So it's always tough and physical and hard county to pick. But as I said, I might go for Clarenbridge just because a friend of mine is training them, but also St. Thomas's, you can't write them off either. They're the belly gunner in Galway.
And I suppose you just said there a friend of yours is training them. I suppose how are they going, or has he said much about the training and preparation and how they have been going in the Galway Championship?
Oh, they're going very bad. They don't have a chance to write him off. He's playing it down, I think.
Ever the optimist, Andrew. Ever the optimist.
Yeah.
All right, so
that's
it. So yeah, you're a busy man yourself. You were saying you're doing a hurling camp there at the moment, so you're kept busy yourself. Yeah,
we've all the hurlers from around the defence forces in the whole country are down this weekend. We've 55 of them between themselves and the ladies doing a training camp. So we're doing a load of sessions, a load of recovery work, a load of stretching, and we both have matches tonight. So it's busy time, but it's good to be promoting hurling defence forces.
That's it, and it's great to see, and it's great to see the equality too. The ladies are playing camogie and the men and hurling and all that. It's great to see. It's great to see it at all levels, and of course, club level as well. And I suppose camogie is as well at club level is going very well, isn't it as well?
Yes, you need, like, it's the same in every county and every club. Like, you have pockets of areas where it's popular in some places, and especially Camogie, because it's very hard to keep Camogie going, because while they start early play with senior teams when they're 15, 16, there's a big drop off rate. So the biggest challenge is to keep those players involved and make it attractive and worthwhile for them. And you see the likes of Cork senior hurling team, or for club hurling Cork now, is going to be strong based on the great year they had. And it was the same when you saw down in Wexford when they were flying winning All Ireland. The club championship was reflected in Wexford. So it's just a matter of, if your county team is doing well, no matter the grade, it'll inspire a new generation. And that's the same for Camogie and ladies football as well, of course.
No problem. Well, listen, thanks very much for taking the time out to do hurling What's the Score for us, and we'll look forward to talking to you again next week.
Perfect. Thank you, Aidan. We'll talk to you then.
No problem. Thanks very much. And that was Andrew O'Shaughnessy, former Limerick senior hurler, talking about all things hurling.